Hello, welcome to the show. It's the Money and Markets Show, and I'm Charles Ward, your host. Now, it should be remembered that in 2014, Uganda made a deliberate effort to go into automotive manufacturing. Now, today, we have a plant in Jinja by Kira Motors Corporation. Today, the promoters of this project are pushing for a 500 billion Uganda shillings fund to take this plant to the next level. Now, in this segment, we visit the plant and we're trying to find out at what level are they, and then what are the intended benefits, the trickle-down effect that this plant will have on the wider economy.
So in terms of bringing down more content upstream in the value chain, certainly you have raw material processing, research and development, component manufacturing, modules, and so on and so forth. So we said that the automotive industry is an industry of industries, because a vehicle plant produces a car, but there is a tire plant which produces a tire for the car. There is a plant which produces spark plugs, and it's there. There is a plant which produces paints like Plascon, and they're here. We have plants which produce batteries. So certainly within these different value points, what we see today is that as the Kira plant comes online, it opens up opportunities for so many other entrepreneurs in the ecosystem to start now digging deeper, whether it is converting iron ore into steel so that we can build frames, whether it is using copper to make electrical wiring, whether it is making printed circuit boards and the computers that control different mechanisms, whether it is making glass from silica sand, whether it is making leather and interior upholstery from textiles, cotton, and so on and so forth. And all of these, that's why I say it will take a whole village. All of these globally are termed as supply chains, because there are so many people who participate at different value points in order for them to contribute to the final product, which comes from a vehicle plant. And we see that there will be growing opportunity. Already we have some few who have set up here. But today we are at the Kira vehicle plant, which is the biggest, most competent and most capable bus manufacturing facility on the African continent, sitting on 100 acres of land and fitted with capabilities for frame and body manufacturing, paint shop operations, chassis line, trim fine assembly, as well as quality testing and inspection, with an initial installed capacity which should come online by October 2024 of 2,500 buses a year, and that boils down to 200 a month and 11 a day. We have the coach products, which are designed to provide you that mobility solution, connecting opportunities between cities, the countryside, and across borders. And these ones we have as electric as well as diesel. And we have the city buses, which come today as purely electric. But in the future, we are looking at different energy options, including compressed natural gas and other energy options which will be viable. The data we see today is that in Uganda, and which is the case for most of the African countries, 82% of the passengers who move by road use public transport. 90% use private cars. 9% use border borders. So for now someone looking to have interventions, the starting point on the passenger side is really the public transport means, and those are the buses. But also buses offer another opportunity of the content can be localized a lot faster than the private cars, because buses can even be produced at low volume and you continue building. But the private cars, really for the production to be viable, you really need to be producing in terms of mass production. And we will grow to that point. We see an opportunity for us to move from buses to trucks for cargo. Again, 96.5% of the cargo in Uganda and for the most of Africa is actually by road using motor vehicles. Rail is developing, aviation will also continue to develop, but the road transport for cargo is still a major element, and we see a market opportunity in that space, as well as SUVs, which is one of really the private vehicles that is used mainly within the public and the private sectors for moving people across different duty cycles, whether it's within the city or even the countryside. and also pickup trucks, which offer a lot of opportunities for people to even carry some minimum load when they need to prove a bit of produce. Market systems development is a phenomenon that takes a concerted effort, and we are committed to market systems development. We are looking at a number of segments within the business to government, because as you know, governments, not only here in Uganda but across the world, are a leading consumer of mobility solutions. So we are looking there, and we are having very interesting and definitive steps in that area. We are also looking at the business-to-business solutions, people who own fleets, like the bus transporters, institutions which have big fleets and so on. And of course, ultimately, as we scale and get more market dominance, the business to consumer will continue being a very important segment. Now, of course, we are having a lot of very mature conversations, not only here in Uganda, but also across the African continent, with a lot of interest which we are developing further, and we hope to be locking in more and more orders. In terms of the break-even analysis, we know that from the point of start of production, the data we see is that within a period of 4 to 5 years, that is the medium term, we should be able to be cash flow positive.
Now, still talking about industrialization or manufacturing, we again have a special attention we're paying to some of the big taxpayers in the country who sit within this particular sector. Now, we visit Uganda breweries, and some of the sentiments we're getting out of there are issues or concerns to do with the taxation regime, but then also the impact that this industry is having to the person at the grassroots. Take a look. Uganda Breweries says it has been able to touch over 50,000 farmers in the country through its deliberate initiative of sourcing some of its key raw materials locally. These include barley, cassava and sorghum, which it uses to blend some of its products.
In there, we also bring in our whole inclusion and diversity agenda, so we're also looking to work with female farmers, consolidators, and there's a whole chain. So there are farmers for barley. There are other crops like sorghum, which we also use. It's a more hardy crop. It can be grown in areas as a cash crop where previously they did not have a cash crop of sorts, where you can just grow to sell to industry and make cash. And that's a part of the benefits of industrialization, that then you can get solutions at scale that can be deployed at scale and impact people at scale.
The brewer, however, expresses concern over the country's taxation regime, which it says has some inconsistencies which are affecting some of its products.
However, you find these innovations are ahead of their time when it comes to taxation policy. So you'll find that the Smirnoff Ice that you're drinking next to your bell is taxed almost 3 times. Assume here Pilsner at 30% excise versus Tusker cider at 80%.
80%?
Yeah. Oh, Smirnoff Ice at 80%. Yeah. I think Tusker cider is about 60%.
The sector players are rooting for a level playing field that will see the tax base widened and also made more efficient to reduce the amount of tax lost due to non-compliance or inefficiencies, but also reduce the tax burden on a few.
So, if you look at the Euromonitor report from 2021, 458 million is actually lost in uncollected taxes. So you can imagine what that can do for the economy. And that is direct, so we're not even speaking about some of the indirect benefits that come through it that formal companies offer. So there's a lot of revenue that is also lost, which is a huge concern. As well, there's also investment. So, when people are looking at sectors to invest in, both local and foreign, you also want to make sure if I've invested, do I have a level playing field? So there's quite a bit of investment that we may be missing out because of the lack of the playing field from investors.
Besides the tax-associated challenges, the brewer is also looking at climate change as a risk to both the farm and the tens of thousands that depend on it, especially farmers.
Currently, the biggest issue is climate change. One of the biggest contributors to climate change has been identified as carbon dioxide and carbon dioxide emissions. So as a business, and this is also part of our global business, made a conscious decision to be carbon neutral by the year 2030. So we are now putting our money where our mouth is. To be carbon neutral, you need to invest. So the additional value in terms of carbon management is that we are then using waste, what would otherwise be waste, in our manufacturing process. So there's additional benefit from that.
Today, Uganda picks over 70% of its taxes from 1,000 farms, and Uganda Breweries is among the top 5. As a major economic player, the brewer believes that it should be supported more to strengthen its innovation, which are intended to result into new products and more support to affiliated farmers, suppliers, and communities. We will now take a very short commercial break. Money and Markets continues after this break.